Next series, the Knicks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to have a lot of thoughts on this, but I'm hoping that you have a lot of thoughts too.
Yeah, we've talked about it a few times. I don't know how much has changed in my thinking. Basically, I think the Randall uncertainty is a big factor, mixed with the concerns about how the Knicks can stop Mitchell and Garland, up high in pick and roll sets. I feel like we're going to come back to this a lot, but if Mitchell Robinson's in a drop, I mean, but so it's a little scary because Garland shot 39.1% on pull-up threes and Mitchell shot 39.2%. And both of them were pretty high volume pull-up three-point shooters. So that, again, we can get down to like, well, it's make or miss, and those guys might just miss those shots. But I think based on the way that the Knicks probably will defend those two guys, it could get problematic pretty quickly. So, this is, again, we're going to have to go through what does a Knicks win look like? Because my default is that the Cavs have pretty distinct advantages, even before talking about, well, what version of Randall are we going to get in this series?
And as we're recording this, we don't technically know his status. He's dealing with that left ankle sprain. My guess would be that he just plays because
I bet
Tom
you
Thibodeau believes that one ankle is more than enough to win. And also, Julius Randle really just wants to play. Like, that's a guy who's prided himself on being an Iron Man. Someone who I think in retrospect, I probably should have put him on an all-NBA team over Anthony Davis because of the minutes gap. I actually got a lot of shit for that when we did it, surprisingly. Like, in my DMs, and friend of the podcast, Andrew Claudio from Knicks Film School, texted me about it. He was mostly calling
that a Knicks supporter was bothered that a Knicks player didn't get.
Some of them weren't Knicks supporters that reach out to me though, and saying that I should not have been as flexible with my like back of the ballot third team stuff.
It's your ballot, Dan. Do what you want with it.
Knicks Film School loves you more than me now though, because you had Randall on an all-NBA team and you picked quickly to win Sixth Man of the Year. So,
well, I go for the big markets. That's all I care about.
But what I'm interested to see, so you mentioned that I actually want to talk about something you said, the Robinson in a drop. I'm wondering if you can, especially post ankle injuries, you just say Julius Randle's on Jared Allen, and then you have Mitchell Robinson on Evan Mobley, and that's gonna like change the way you might defend, or then it's, well, the Cavs will just try and put Julius Randle in the screening action. Then I just think that that's still maybe a little bit easier because Jared Allen is more dynamic than I think most. I don't know how to frame this in like a respectful, but if you're not watching the Cavs on a regular basis or semi-regular basis, I don't think you understand how dynamic Jared Allen could be on offense. Evan Mobley is far more dynamic than Jared Allen is on offense. But I do think that's a fair question. What's interesting is I think the Knicks could be more aggressive in their defensive coverage because they have Emmanuel Quickley, Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes. However, that brings you in an interesting, is it a dilemma, a pickle to where, well, is this not an RJ Barrett series then? But then do you kind of need it to be an RJ Barrett series if Randall isn't able to create at the same level? And this is, before I throw it back to you, is one of my biggest questions. What does this Knicks offense look like? Because I think a lot of their success is just like, we know about the ISO Brunson and Randall stuff, but they also have like a nice two-man chemistry where they can punish people, where if Julius Randle is going to screen and get the ball, he can attack a mismatch. He can put the defense in rotation. He might not be able to do that against the Cavs because of, one, his ankle. I don't even know. The Cavs could if they wanted to, and I don't know if they'll do this. But like, you could just say, well, we'll dare the Knicks to do this, and we'll just put Evan Mobley on Jalen Brunson. And so if you want to get them to screening, we'll just have Evan Mobley switch on the Julius Randle, or he's playing Julius Randle straight up anyway. And even if you're a fully healthy Julius Randle, you might be stronger than him, but you're not going to have the same level of defensive rotation put in. And I think Julius Randle's gotten better at making the pass in those situations, but I'm very interested to see how Cleveland is able to, in a playoff series, because there's all these weirdo regular season returns this year. What do they do to New York's base offense? And I think that they are built to sort of muck it up, even though in theory, and I think they've both been better defensively than people would have expected. You can try and target Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell and get them involved, but the Cavs just have the personnel to where even if Karis LeVert's your 3, and I'm sure we'll get into the Cavs 3 spot, like I just don't know how concerning that is. And so I think that any of your thoughts on that, but also just like, where do you land on this being or not being an RJ Barrett series?
Yeah, first I take the second thing first. I think you want it to be an RJ Barrett series, but first of all, you were quicker to appreciate Karis LeVert improving as a defender than I was, and so that is something we should mention. I still think if you're the Knicks, you would hope it's an RJ Barrett series, because if he's in the game, probably he's going at that 3 spot that we've said the Cavs needed to upgrade all year. And that, LeVert can't handle Barrett, for example. Like, just depend, Barrett might play some 4, 2, I don't know. But it doesn't feel like there's anything that Barrett would give the Knicks that is going to meaningfully change how they play offense. Because what I think they want to do and what they should try to do, and you alluded to it, is you're going to want to attack both of Cleveland's small guards. The Knicks were 3rd in the league in drives per game. I don't think you change that fundamental aspect of your offense. You're going to want to try to get in the paint, but this is going to feel like a drive and kick series to me, because as if it is true, I think, and it is relatively speaking, that Garland and Mitchell are the guys, the weak links, so to speak, the guys you want to go at, if for no other reason than to tire them out. You're just going to run into the best 4-5 backline defensive twosome in the league in Mobley and Allen, assuming they're in and around the lane. As great as Brunson is, it's a lot to ask him to, get into his bag in the paint, in his, mid post.
He's dealing with a hand injury still too.
Yeah. I mean, we're saying all this and he had 48 against the Cavs, right? So like, certainly it can't happen. I just think over a series, you're not going to make a lot of hay driving all the way to the basket against Cleveland, just because of the length and the skill of their 2 best defenders. So it feels like a drive and kick. And that maybe even is another reason this isn't a Barrett series, unless you're getting drive, kick, drive, and you're playing Oklahoma City basketball. That's one way maybe to scramble the Cavs, but those 2 guys are so mobile. They're so mobile. Like, I just don't know that you're going to get Cleveland scrambled in such a way where Mobley and Allen can't recover. So, I mean, I think Mobley's the X factor of the series, because he could probably credibly guard Brunson in space if he had to. And then if he's involved in screens, I feel great about him trying to handle Julius Randle, especially if Randle's mobility is not where it needs to be. So I think, yeah, it's got to be a drive and kick series, and the Knicks may just have to make threes, because I don't think they can win this close to the basket.
And that would be the reason why this isn't an RJ Barrett series, just because like he has not shot the 3 ball consistently at all this year. And his bread and butter is going to be not even necessarily finishing well once he gets into the paint, but drawing fouls. And so like the Cavs are just built to maybe neutralize that part of his game. And look, so much without knowing what Randall looks like, I feel like I'm talking in circles. I do think what might bode well for at least him is like he can pick and pop. Like we've seen he's a willing 3-point shooter. Does some of them are they going to need to be pull-ups? Are they going to be creative for himself? Sure. But like he can screen and just pop. And if the Cavs are going to they might not give him that shot, because Evan Mobley can fucking teleport and contest those looks as well. But that's something that they could use. I am, however, interested in and we know if Randall's healthy, he'll play like 49 or 48 minutes a game. But like, let's just say he's averaging 40 or 42. I'm wondering if the Knicks can go, and a lot of it will depend on what Cleveland is running. Is this I love Obi Toppin, but is this a situation where it's, well, no, we're going to downsize. And to make this an RJ Barrett series, we go with the RJ Barrett at the 4 lineups, because those are going to be better equipped to not just drive and kick, but to actually open up driving lanes for Barrett himself. The Knicks are a plus 15 points per 100 possessions with Barrett at the 4 this year. Very small sample size. Mm-hmm. But I'm just wondering if that's not going to win you the series, but is that a way, especially if Julius Randle can't go for 40, 42 minutes a game, and you need to all of a sudden, oh, he's at 38. Like, I'm wondering if they can go that route, or is Cleveland just, even when they go one big, sort of just so demoralizingly enormous that just having Isaiah Hartenstein without an Obi Toppin, because I don't even know, like, what is Obi Toppin really going to give you on offense, though? I would pivot to the RJ Barrett at the 4 stuff. That's me loving. I would probably play Toppin at the 5 and say, fuck defense. Like, we're just going to try because the other thing about these teams, they don't play when they get, like, they will look to run. And if Emmanuel Quickley's on the floor, they will look to run. But like the Cavs and the Knicks, when they get into their base offenses, like they're really running the shot clock down. Their average offensive possession time is pretty late into the shot clock. If you can get a shot of adrenaline in any way, that ends up being, for both teams, just a huge difference in this series.
Yeah, I think if you downsize as the Knicks, I think it potentially takes away one of the possible routes where you stay really competitive in this series, and that's offensive rebounds and putbacks. Because if you're looking at half court offenses, the Knicks, much has been made of the Knicks offense this year, and rightfully so. It's been a great offense. The Cavs are 7th, so it's not like this is some massive advantage. And the Cavs actually were, just by the smallest possible margin, more efficient in half court chances. But the Knicks half court offense really depends on offensive rebounds and second chances. So if you shrink a little bit, most of that's Robinson. But if you go smaller, I think that cuts into what might be a small advantage for the Knicks. And then just to get back to what you're saying about Toppin and Barrett, I think you probably just keep it, which you probably try them both if you do go smaller. But I think if Toppin, runs hot on a few threes, then he gets to play. And if Barrett makes a couple second side drives and that creates good opportunities, then he gets to play. I think you have to be very flexible if you're Tom Thibodeau, because that's fun to say, right? Be very flexible if you're Tom Thibodeau.
Which, by the way,
yeah, I know that's unfair. Yeah. That's unfair.
Yeah. Not unfair.
It used to be fair. It's not fair anymore.
It's less fair than it ever was, but could we see him revert to his way in a? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's all. I just wanted to point out the potential for the Knicks to do well on the offensive boards, and that's just another way they could prop up an offense that has been really good, but isn't so much better than Cleveland's that I'm concerned if I'm the Cavs about winning a scoring contest.
I will say, if you do go smaller, though, doesn't it make you better equipped to defend the guards? If you're going to go smaller against some of the primary lineups, you're better equipped to defend Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland then, though, too. And so the trade-off is, all right, we're giving up stuff on the glass, but maybe we're able to force the Cavs offense into more difficult decisions because we're playing two of Grimes, Quickly, and Hart at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, usually you're giving up defense by going smaller, but in this particular case, I take your point. You might, and really then also that's going to open your offense up a little bit more if you're the Knicks and you shrink your positions a little. I don't have a lot else to say. You want to make your pick here?
I was just going to ask you about how does the Isaac Okoro injury, if he's not full strength or even just the Cleveland's 3 spot, because we only mentioned it cursory, how does it impact your view of this series at all? It comes down to, I think a lot of people worried they wouldn't get the defense necessary out of that spot. I actually don't think that's the issue. It's okay. Caris LeVert shooting really well from 3, 39% on catch and shoots. Also at 45% or something ridiculous since the trade deadline. Isaac Okoro has shot above 40% from 3 for more than half the season when healthy. And they do have Danny Green. He had COVID for a while, so he didn't play a ton with the Cavs, but he's hitting his threes. And so there's 4 questions. Dean Wade's just floating around out there. Will he hit his threes? Those were pulled back. Will Danny Green be able to defend well enough to play a role? Because we know he'll hit his threes. And then does the shooting for LeVert and Okoro, assuming he's able to play, does that translate into the postseason? And how big of a variable is that actually for Cleveland?
I think Okoro would probably be the guy on Brunson, right? If you're drawing it up for Cleveland, because you don't want Garland on him and you don't want maybe Mitchell, but I think I'd rather have Mitchell, be off the ball a little bit more and get to rest. So that's a factor. I do think, as I said earlier, LeVert has been better defensively and is clearly the best offensive player of Cleveland's options at the 3. I think Okoro too, while he would be the guy you'd want out there for defensive purposes, I still think he's someone that the Knicks, if they're looking to cheat a little bit, he's the guy they're leaving in the corner and just saying, we're going to not be anywhere in your neighborhood in the first quarter. More power to you if you want to take 5 threes and make 3 of them. Good luck, Cavs, if that's how you want to play offense. But so in the playoffs, a guy like that his flaws always show up more because teams can just be relentless about forcing someone to do the thing they're bad at. And that's why guys that are bad at specific things to a great enough extent just don't get to play very much. So, even though Okoro has had good stretches, I think he might give the Knicks an out that, unless he's just locking Brunson down, might not be worth it, in the balance.
Can I just say 2 quick things that fascinate me about this series? They're macro things. Cleveland has the best defense had the best defense in the league, but they also have, they have the best offense in the league when going up against top 10 defenses. And that's important because the Knicks defense is not this killer, but that's how good the Cavs offense is translated to, even if it doesn't always necessarily look pretty. The Knicks, though, on the other hand, they have the second best defense in the league when going up against top 10 offenses. And so I just find that matchup very interesting.
I don't know what to do with that. That's it. That is interesting. I don't know what that means. I mean, it would seem to say that the Knicks have a better chance than we're giving them credit for.
What's your prediction for Knicks Cavs?
I'm gonna go Cavs in 6, and that has mostly to do with maybe Randall will be healthy, or more healthy than I think is likely. But it would be closer to 5 than 7 for sure if I had to go one way or the other.
I'm gonna go Cavs in 7 because I think that the Knicks, if they're going to run the lineups that I think they will, I really do think that they're built to sort of just throw wrinkles into the Cavs offense from a defensive perspective more than maybe we're talking about at the moment. I could end up being wildly wrong there, though.
I think if Randall was totally healthy, I could be talked into 7. I just think that variable kind of nudges me down a little bit.